Mirrors and Dreams, Book 2 of the Unseen Scar series, written and narrated by C.R. Saxon. Chapter 15. Please, take her, please! Elu burst into John's lab and grabbed the taller boy's shirt. Maniacal laughter danced behind him. I don't understand. How do you do it? Between Ferdinan and her. Sighing, John called toward the hallway. Please stop it, Oya. What fun is that? Inhuman green eyes glowed from the open doorway. Need a moment? Please. Nodding, she vanished. She didn't move or hide, just vanished, like always. See? She does that every time. Then she appears out of nowhere. I can't classify her. Everything fails. None of it makes sense. How does she even do that? No one can do that. It's not possible. I have no idea. Elu, are you familiar with the various ancient gods? Yes. The healer's brown eyes darkened in despair. Puck, Loki, Lilith, Anansi, Tanukis, Gibranate, Lamerek, Ezraini. Elu rubbed at his face. Trickster gods throughout human history. I'm sure all those gods were based on people like Oya. I can't believe I'm saying this about a girl. Don't take her seriously. Elu stood taken aback. That's how you deal with her? She's a girl, even if I forget. John knew this conflicted with his earlier statement. Women are worthy of deep love and respect. Even if we don't understand, they do what they do for our own good. Elu's expression turned incredulous. Yes, she pushes us to our limits, but she cares. Oya pokes and prods those who are hurting, but makes sure they're okay. Her ways aren't the most palatable, but she means well. How does any of this help us? Exasperation sighed out of his island brother. Personally, sympathy wrapped around John's smile. It doesn't. She's teasing you for entertainment, but it's giving Ferdinan time to heal and recuperate. Elu dropped his head in defeat. I'm okay with her selfishness and obnoxiousness, because she cares for him. Things would be worse if she didn't have this obsession. A timid smile hid John's fatigue. I'm sorry, just a bit longer. When Ferdinand's healthier, she'll torture you a little less. Everything always goes back to him. Irritation saturated Elu's voice, until guilt softened the healer's expression. Their disrupted lives. Since the day John was assigned to assist Ferdinan in South Chuzo, things kept getting worse. I don't have to feed my ally tonight. I was hoping all of us could sit down and talk. It's been a while, and there are things I need to address and apologize for. You haven't done anything wrong, John. Humor me. There was another issue wrapped up in all this. Maybe give up on classifying Oya for a bit and focus on Marcus. I should be spending more time with him, but he's been hiding in his room, sleeping more. Can you make up for my lacking, at least till I can figure out what's going on with my ally? Marcus. Elu sighed, placing a hand against his forehead. I've been failing on all sides. No, you haven't. There's just too much happening right now. Giving Elu a squeeze, John called out, Oya, will you play with me for a while? Golden brown arms appeared out of thin air and wrapped tightly around them both. I love touching moments. At John's gesture, Elu made his escape. Really, John? Puck? Ezraini? John gave a wry smile, one he thought she'd appreciate. Am I wrong? Nope, they're my favorites. Thank you for staying, and please stop tormenting my island brothers. But they're fun to play with, especially Tuel. I love his hair, and he can outmaneuver me in the air. It's wonderful. All John could do was nod, and pity Elu. How do you classify a trickster god? You're looking way too serious for lunchtime, without food being the focus. Zhao plopped down next to the young tinkerer. Food's a serious matter. This made Elby giggle. I know one person who'd disagree. Yeah, but I'm going with the majority rule here. Fair enough. How was your visit with Yu? I'm jealous. I still haven't gotten to check on her. It was nice. She's being released from isolation tomorrow, so you can talk to her then. Not letting her lead come before she's even released? I bet it's Herard's doing. Zhao gave a dramatic huff. Elby giggled, then looked down at his screen, hesitating. In your opinion, is this good enough for a final project? Leaning over, Zhao studied the diagram with a, I don't think that'll quite make the cut, but tinkers have different requirements than thinkers. I'd run it by your mentor first. Say his name. It won't sound natural if you don't. I was afraid of that. Elby sighed, closing out the box and pulling up a new one. Don't delete that. It might not work for a final project, but it'd be great for a class one. Mismatched eyes looked up, grinning. Don't worry. It seemed fun, so I want to keep it. Ferdinand would be happy to help you think of something. Reaching over, Zhao mussed the child's hair, napping the screen. Master Ferdinan already is. Elby reached for the clear sheet the older boy held aloft. Wiggling it back and forth, Zhao gestured that it was his hostage. Oh? Yeah, we're going through his previous projects and discussing them. Elby looked longingly at his screen. And he's still in class. I can't schedule extra time with him for a few days. Huh? What's going on? But Ferdinan always makes time for apprentices. Wait, he's never had class at this time. That weirdo crams everything in the mornings. He's shadowing his cousin till he's fine-tuned Prince Zephyr's schedule. What? Who ordered that? I don't know. Mismatched eyes moved from the screen to Zhao. I didn't think it mattered. Zhao chuckled. It wouldn't, would it? Sounds like the usual nonsense. No way the school would have a student do that. Usual nonsense? LB parroted back. Huh? Nothing you need to worry about. North Chuzites are particularly protective of their soon-to-be general. Bringing the screen down, but holding it out of LB's reach, Zhao changed topics. When you were doing screen sessions last break, where was Ferdinan responding from? For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the lab, and it's driving me nuts. LB froze, staring at his hands. It was a hospital. Yeah, but he was using their lab. It's on the tip of my tongue. What is that name? Allowing frustration to wrinkle his forehead completed the show. LB shook his head, then smiled. Urani Private Children's Hospital. Urani! How could I have forgotten that? He never did tell me what he was working on. Guess it was classified. Wasn't that the hospital that distributed information about the cure? No, he just didn't like talking about it. He told you and not me? His lead? His mentor? A huge sigh left Zhao and he handed over the screen. I wish I knew how to get him to like me. He has to trust you. The 6-year-old's blunt insight was unexpected, but Ferdinan thought and observed too deeply. Of course he would pass that on to his apprentices. I wish I knew how to make him trust me then. Giggles filled the space between them while LB slipped the screen into the safety of his bag. You're too energetic for him. He always looks frazzled after talking to you. Ah, how's he doing? I can't be any kind of decent lead if I don't check up on the health and well-being of all my charges. Anger's dull ache smoldered, but Ferdinan was the only scientist he'd been ignoring. Still, he didn't want to see the skeleton. He's looking rough. Maybe it's because he's still healing. LB trailed off for a moment, mismatched eyes returning to stare at his hands. It must have been hard. He improved for a while, or at least I thought he did. Oh? He looks exhausted. Having to do this for his cousin? It's best if I don't push him too hard. It's not your job to worry about him. He's supposed to worry over you. I'm supposed to worry over him. Yeah, but this last year... LB cringed when Zhao hugged him, but the lead just squeezed harder. Don't become like Ferdinan. If you're worried about anything, Ferdinan or otherwise, talk to me. Us busybodies love that sort of stuff. Shall we try again? The elf hovered over him. I've done nothing wrong. The prince scrambled away, heart racing, but instead of the terrifying elf who tortured him, she looked normal. If you had, I'd be killing you very slowly right now. Leaning forward, she gazed into his soul. Why do you hate him? I don't know. Zephyr tapped his forehead, dropped his palm to face it, and shook his head. Then let's continue. A wave of her hand and more memories played. After the tea, Zephyr spent less time around his cousin, until they actively avoided each other. By the time Zephyr was 9, Ferdinand's malnutrition became apparent, and his cousin acted like the prince's manservant. And whenever Zephyr became angry, everything stopped. Why does she keep ending them? Color intensified, bright and vivid, as Tenalia greeted her 2 nephews from the boat. The elf smirked, paying more attention than before. You cherished this memory. Yes, golden hands danced in delight. This was when I was presented to the military. I've never had so much fun. The young Zephyr sparred every commander of North Chuzo's various platoons. Games and feasts, music and dancing, it was a wonderland of a party. And in the background, hazy and almost forgotten, was Ferdinan. Giggles left the elf. Why do you keep turning down meats? They look delicious. Those... Zhao rolled his eyes at himself. It doesn't agree with me. A delicate eyebrow rose high on her brow. Fighters and some athletes can't digest meat. Wouldn't they need it more than others? Meat isn't the only source of protein. Zephyr shrugged and returned to observing. The next day was more colorful, culminating in a lavish feast, the Samoltz family in the seat of honor. Everyone enjoyed it, except Ferdinan. The underweight child stared at his hands and ignored his food. He refused to eat that entire week. Zephyr pressed on his stomach and threw his hand to the side. He was a bane to everyone. Workers rushed in to clean up when the meal ended, allowing the Samoltz to adjourn to an extravagant sitting room. Stories commenced. Somewhere in the shadows, Ferdinan snuck off. It was some time later before the general noticed. Where's Ferdinan? Don't worry, my general. He's probably using the restroom. The Duchess answered smoothly. Del fidgeted, eyes scouring the room. What? Zephyr tried keeping his voice in check, but he didn't want to think about what came next. Is the Duke dead? The elf asked, still searching the scene. Tenalia looked doubtful. Zephyr, let's try a little test. Present-day Zephyr was taken aback. What? The little prince beamed in excitement. Yes, ma'am? I've yet to see him, and this was an important occasion. The elf returned his annoyance. Show me how good your tracking skills are, Tenalia grinned. Go find your cousin." Though the younger Zephyr frowned, he bowed to the general, tapping his palm. "The Duke can barely handle 2 people." Onyx's eyes looked away. "I don't want to see. Even time with his family is spent one-on-one. A celebration's beyond him." As the little prince left the room, everything dimmed. "You've tried forgetting this." "I hate this. Let's skip this part like you did with the others." "I haven't skipped anything. We've stopped abruptly a number of times." "I didn't skip those. You did." The hazy memory sharpened, playing reluctantly. An odd sound from the kitchen caught young Zephyr's attention. The only light came from open windows, and there, hidden in the shadows, was Ferdinan, eating. The little prince stood in confusion, but the older prince looked away. "What is it, Zephyr?" the elf prodded. "This is shameful." It didn't take long before Ferdinan reached his physical limit. Partially chewed food spewed everywhere. Memory Zephyr shot out of the kitchen and into a servant, hands flying. He called for the Duchess, then returned to watching his cousin. The thin, immaculately kept woman appeared from the darkness and pointed at her son, coughing and gagging. Ferdinand shook, unable to stop dry heaving. "Please leave, my prince." Utter disdain glared at Ferdinand. "But he's sick," the 9-year-old Zephyr objected, hands punctuating the point. "He chose to do a foolish, selfish thing to himself. This is the consequence. Feel no pity for him." Starlight eyebrows twitched. How could she say that about her son? Golden hands moved as harshly as his words. The Duchess was right. He did that to himself. I watched him and gorged himself. He just kept eating till he was foolish and selfish, refusing to eat till he made himself this hungry. It was all his fault. "Watch your tongue before I remove it," the elf snapped. "You're the fool for not trying to understand him."